This place, pause, should not exist, not because it is old, but because of when it was built. Long before cities, before farming, before writing, before civilization itself. Someone carved this 12,000 years ago. That number alone should stop you, because history tells us something very different. It tells us humans at that time were primitive, nomadic, hunters and gatherers, living in caves, struggling to survive. They were not supposed to build temples. They were not supposed to carve stone. They were not supposed to understand geometry. And yet, this place stands in direct contradiction to everything we were taught. Hidden beneath the hills of modern-day Turkey lies a structure older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, older than every known civilization on Earth. Its name is Göbekli Tepe, and it rewrote human history. When archaeologists first uncovered it, they didn't believe what they were seeing. Massive stone pillars, perfectly shaped, perfectly aligned, arranged in precise circles. Each pillar weighs more than 10 tons. Carved without metal tools, carved without wheels, carved without agriculture. That alone should be impossible. But the real shock was not the size. It was the timing. Göbekli Tepe was built around 9600 BCE. At that time, according to textbooks, humans had not even invented farming yet. No permanent settlements, no cities, no advanced societies. So who built this? And why? Every pillar at Göbekli Tepe is carved with symbols, animals, snakes, foxes, scorpions, birds, not crude drawings, but detailed intentional reliefs. Art that required planning, skill, and deep symbolic meaning. This was not random decoration. This was communication. And here's where history begins to collapse. Göbekli Tepe is not near a city. It is not near farmland. There are no homes, no kitchens, no graves, just stone circles, just pillars, just ritual. Which means this was not a place people lived. It was a place people came to. That changes everything, because it suggests something radical. Religion came before civilization. Belief came before farming. Temples came before cities. Göbekli Tepe may be the first temple ever built. And if that's true, then our entire understanding of why civilization began is wrong. For decades, historians believed humans settled down to farm and then built temples. Göbekli Tepe flips that logic upside down. It suggests humans gathered to worship first, and farming came later, to support the people building the temple, meaning belief didn't follow civilization. Civilization followed belief. That idea terrified historians, because it means civilization was not born out of survival. It was born out of purpose, out of meaning, out of something deeper. And then there's the strangest part. Göbekli Tepe was intentionally buried, not destroyed, not abandoned, buried, covered with thousands of tons of earth. Carefully, deliberately, as if someone wanted to hide it, or protect it, or erase it from memory. Why would anyone bury their own temple? Why hide the most important structure they ever built? And why do it at the exact moment when agriculture and civilization begin to rise elsewhere? It's as if Göbekli Tepe belonged to a different world, a world that ended, and someone made sure its knowledge would not continue. This place is not just ancient, it is forbidden, because it proves something we were never meant to know. That advanced thinking existed before civilization, that humans were capable of far more than we give them credit for, and that history is not a straight line. This is not the story of how civilization began. This is the story of what came before it, and why it disappeared. In the next part, we will uncover how Göbekli Tepe was engineered, how hunter-gatherers moved 10-ton stones, how the geometry works, and why some researchers believe this knowledge was passed down from an even older source. This temple should not exist, but it does. And once you understand how, you will never look at human history the same way again. They were not farmers. They were not builders. At least, that's what we were told. Pause. Göbekli Tepe forces us to ask a dangerous question. How? Did people with no metal tools, no wheels, no writing, and no cities, pause, move stones weighing up to 20 tons? These pillars were not dragged randomly. They were cut with precision, smoothed, shaped, aligned. Each one stands over 16 feet tall, carved from solid limestone, quarried from bedrock. Pause. That alone should be impossible, because according to history books, humans at that time were still hunter-gatherers, nomads, small tribes, moving constantly, barely surviving, and yet someone organized labor, someone planned geometry, someone understood balance, leverage, and load. This was not brute force. Pause. This was engineering. Look closer at the pillars. They are not random stones. They are T-shaped. Not because it looked nice, but because it served a purpose. The T-shape distributes weight evenly. It prevents cracking. It allows vertical stability without collapse. Pause. Modern engineers still use similar principles. But here's the disturbing part. Each pillar is carved with animals. Foxes, snakes, lions, scorpions. Perfectly engraved, symmetrical, consistent. These are not cave drawings. They required planning, skilled hands, repetition, time. Pause. Thousands of hours of labor. Who fed these people? Who organized them? Who decided where each stone would stand? Because you don't build this accidentally. You don't wake up one day and say, let's move 20-ton stones for fun. Pause. This required leadership, hierarchy, knowledge passed down. In other words, a society. But history says society didn't exist yet. Pause. So either history is wrong, or someone erased an entire chapter, and the engineering doesn't stop there. The pillars are arranged in perfect circles, not ovals, not random shapes. Circles. One of the most complex forms to design without tools. Each circle has a central pillar, larger, heavier, placed exactly in the middle. That requires measurement, planning, spatial awareness. Pause. This is not primitive thinking. This is advanced cognition. And here's where it gets even stranger. The site was not built once. It was rebuilt again and again, layer on top of layer, over centuries. Meaning, this knowledge survived generations. Someone taught it, someone preserved it. Pause. And then they buried it, deliberately, carefully, stone by stone, layer by layer. Why hide something so powerful? Why erase your own masterpiece? Pause. Because Göbekli Tepe wasn't just a structure. It was a system. And systems are dangerous when people forget how they work. The stones are silent. Pause. But they are not empty. Every pillar at Göbekli Tepe is covered in symbols, not decoration, not art, language. A language older than writing. Pause. Snakes, vultures, foxes, boars, scorpions. They appear again and again, across different circles, across different time periods. That means one thing. These symbols mattered. Pause. But here's the problem. They do not match cave art. They do not match later civilizations. They do not fit into anything we know, because they were not telling stories. They were recording something. Pause. Look closely at the animals. Many of them are dangerous. Predators. Venomous. Feared. Why would a peaceful hunter-gatherer society carve threats into sacred stone? Unless they were warnings. Pause. Some archaeologists believe the carvings represent constellations, not animals, but stars. The snake, the Milky Way, the scorpion, Scorpius, the vulture, Cygnus, and suddenly, the stone becomes a sky map. Pause. Now this changes everything, because if Göbekli Tepe is astronomical, then its builders tracked the sky. They understood cycles, seasons, precession, things we thought humans learned thousands of years later. Pause. One pillar shows a vulture lifting a head. This image appears nowhere else in early history, but in later myths, vultures guide souls, carry the dead to the afterlife. This suggests belief systems, rituals, spiritual hierarchy. Pause. Religion, but not the kind we know. No gods carved, no kings, no rulers, just forces, nature, death, time. Pause. And then there's the most disturbing symbol of all, the headless human, appearing again and again. What does it mean? Sacrifice? Death? Rebirth? Or something darker? Pause. Some researchers believe Göbekli Tepe records a catastrophe, a moment in time when something happened to humanity, something so devastating it became sacred memory. And that brings us to the sky. Pause. Around 12,000 years ago, Earth experienced a sudden climate shift. The Younger Dryas. Temperatures dropped instantly, megafauna died, civilizations vanished, and evidence suggests a cosmic impact. Pause. What if Göbekli Tepe was built after that event? What if it wasn't the beginning of civilization, but the aftermath? A monument built by survivors to remember what was lost. Pause. To warn future generations. That would explain the fear, the symbols, the burial. Because knowledge can be dangerous, especially when people are not ready for it. Pause. And Göbekli Tepe was sealed, not destroyed, hidden, preserved, as if someone expected us to return.